Welcome viewers to another review for Exhaust Notes Australia. Today we have the Cadillac Lyriq, which is an all-wheel drive EV from the States. Let's check out the boot space, the back seat and everything infotainment, and then we'll get into the driving. Cadillac Lyriq has 793 litres of boot space and 1722 litres of boot space with the rear seats down. There are multiple ways to open the boot of the Cadillac Lyriq. You can walk up and swipe your foot. You can also double tap on the key fob. In the boot here you have your normal roller. There is a nice compartment at the bottom here with actually a decent amount of boot space. You could fit some shopping in there if you needed. As well as that, you do have a power outlet on this side of the vehicle. You do have multiple anchor points as well as lighting, and there's a quick drop for the rear seats. And when you're done, press the button. Alrighty. Alrighty guys, the second row of the Cadillac Lyriq. We do have a really nice instrument cluster here for controlling the air conditioning. There are some really nice materials used on the air conditioning vents. You do have heated seats here and USB-C charging. We do have child restraint abilities in here. And of course, our armrest with some cup holders. Material wise, it's not too bad. Everything's rather leather appointed. This is actually a bit of plastic. Nice wood trim and some stainless steel for your door handle and your speakers. I do find that there is a reasonable amount of room in here for an average person. The middle seat might be a little bit cramped though, and I don't know what's going on with all of this plastic, but doesn't matter. Alrighty viewers, inside the cockpit of the Cadillac Lyriq, we can see here we have one gigantic screen across the dash. So let's start with that, shall we? First and foremost, there is touch screen buttons here, and one of them is how we change the dash layout. And I can tell you it's an incredibly inconvenient spot to actually do that. So we'll go back to gauge, and then you can change to your efficiency and trip settings. All right, moving on. We have an aircon vent down below here. You have your lighting for the screen that you use to drive. This is actually an air conditioner vent, quite nice switching. You do have your seat settings on the door here like a Mercedes. This is the massage seat function. Press it once and it begins. Pretty sure we press it again, or maybe we start moving. There we go. So we can see here, turning of the knob allows you to switch to what you want, and then you can actually adjust what it's going to do. Alrighty, you do have heated and cooled seats in the front here. Instrument stalks are quite nice. You do have your gearing on the right stalk, which leaves the left one very busy. So lighting is the movement of the stalk, and then you have all your windshield wiper switch gear on it as buttons. Steering wheel here, quite a nice badge. It is heated. We do have our cruise control on the left and our infotainment phone settings on the right. I do find this steering wheel it's quite odd how it's got this strip of plastic at the top here. I think it's a bit, I don't know, for me I find this steering wheel doesn't quite match the rest of the standard of the dash. It's there's a little bit haptic buttons. It's just not as fancy looking as the rest of it. Anyway, moving on. So we do have a rather nice switch gear here for another air conditioning vent. I do like that we have buttons for the air conditioning here instead of all being in the touch screen. What I do not like though is that I have to go into here to open a glove box. That is crazy. Anyway, moving back on. So rather nice movement from the infotainment. It's not laggy by any means. You can select drive modes in here. I've just kept it on sport for most of the time. You do have your charging settings in here. You can set schedules and things like that if you're using it at home often. Android Auto is rather intuitive. It is wireless, really easy to set up. I do find it odd that we're missing, I have an actual screen there, but it's not being used. It is a bit odd in that regard, but other than that, you do have quick access to 1-foot driving and so on. There is no head-up display in this model. Moving down, we have some nice little extra compartments hidden away everywhere. That one is nice and slow to open. We do have room for a handbag down below with some metal looking plating there and another USB-C charge point. 2 cup holders. This is, I don't know, I've seen that in Haval, which is saying something. And then over here we have a typical Mercedes-esque switchgear here for the infotainment. So when you're driving, this is the preferred way to access your infotainment: volume, music, phone, back, home, and this is how you turn things up and down or scroll across the screen, demonstrated here. Alrighty, moving on, we do have charging in the front here, which is an upright position. In here you do have a normal power outlet as well as a USB-C. And as you can see, we have some nice wood trim on the dash. We do have our standard buttons on the roof, as well as, how do we turn these on? Touch. They are touch operated. There we go. As well as that, you do have a sunroof, which does open as well, and you do have a digital revision mirror, which I think is probably a bit of overkill, but hey. Alrighty, moving on. Alrighty viewers, so we've checked out the inside. What about the out? What do you guys think of the looks of the Cadillac Lyriq? I actually don't mind them. They do look rather nice. I think they look nice on the road. However, there is a lot of gloss and piano black on the outside of this car, as well as a lot of plastic looking things that mimics a bit of metal. And for me, that means lots of cleaning. So definitely keep that in mind. But what about the power? It runs quite a lot of power, which I'll put at the bottom of the screen here for you. And what is interesting about that power is they have really tried to manage it from being able to take off fast. It's not trying to be a fast car in this configuration. What it is, it's a comfy car. It's trying to glide you along. It's trying to be seamless. And so when you take off at the lights, it is, even in sports mode, it is rather progressive to take off. But when you need to put your foot down, when you need to actually overtake or get up to speed for the freeway, it is rather rapid. It does have a 0 to 100 of just over 5 seconds, but it is rapid when it's already moving. It will actually throw you into the back of the seat, like that. As you see, it's got its own Cadillac version of electric noises, which are rather easy and seamless and just play in the background. I have found this car rather quiet in the cabin. Really easy to talk to people, really good with the music. It is so quiet in here that you can kind of have the music on in the background as just like a background tone, and you still hear the lyrics and you still get that sense of the song, which is obviously a lot harder to do in a car with an engine. But aside from that, it is a rather quiet place to be. Now, with the performance, as I said, it's not really sports focused, and I actually quite like that. Every EV these days is trying to be the quickest 0 to 100 monster, and then it probably burns out or doesn't do much else. This is just trying to be a good car, trying to be a comfy car and something that you want to drive every day. On that, I found the range to be exceptional for this car. So it is rated at between 500 and 600 kilometers for a full charge. I have found in my daily driving that it actually really makes good use of the regen capabilities of this car. Those regen capabilities do come from braking, and there is also a single paddle on the steering wheel here, which allows you to control how much curves you're using while you're driving, essentially giving you a one pedal drive, but where you control the braking element. There is one pedal drive in the dash, and you can turn it on by a single button on the infotainment, but being able to just apply a little bit more of the curves as you're driving, as you're going down a hill, things like that. It is a rather nice feature for an EV. I do quite like it, and I've been making a lot of use of that. I've found it's almost been a full week now, and I'm not even down to half a charge, and I have not charged it once yet. So on that regard, I have felt very comfortable in its ability to use the battery that it's got, and I haven't felt stressed about trying to charge it every day or every night, which is rather nice. One thing that really has been annoying me is the keeping the eyes on the road, the driver monitor system. I can't find where to dial it back or turn it off, but I have found it rather annoying. Now, it does vibrate the seat instead of binging at you, which I do rather like, but I've just found it rather annoying in the sense that when you're in a car park, it is going mental at you, and all you're doing is looking for a parking spot going 5 k's an hour. It really would do with being just toned down just slightly, just having the ability to change it. If you do find that in your version, please put it in the comments so I know that it's possible. Now, aside from that, this screen is rather large, and it does give you a lot of information. It's not bad by any means, but there are just little oddities about it where it's trying to maybe do more than it needs to. I mean, there's a big section here next to Android Auto that is empty space, and then over here it's actually touchscreen activated to change your trip settings and to change your gauge cluster layout. So things like that, where it just probably doesn't need to be as complicated as it is. In terms of the interior fit and finish, I find the dash of the car really exceptionally well. I think it stands out. I think it's very Cadillac-like, a little bit retro. They have put a lot of nice elements into it to make it feel special, especially when you consider this is going up against BMWs and Mercedes-Benz in its price bracket. What I have liked the massage seats as well. That is a included feature in this car. It is rather nice. But where I found it sort of fell apart a little is I find the steering wheel with the haptic buttons just feels a little bit cheap for me, and the center console bit here, while it is well laid out, it's a little bit creaky, and things in here just feel a little bit more plasticky than you would like, especially if you were to compare it to something like the Mercedes elements here. And to be totally fair with you, it has a very Mercedes-esque configuration here. They might even use the same gear, I'm not too sure. It has a really nice sunroof as well, and most importantly, we're on a bit of a rough road here, and it still feels comfy. The road noise hasn't picked up, and it doesn't judder or bang when you hit potholes and things like that. It really handles itself rather well. The brakes as well are Brembos at the front, and they do help pull this thing up rather quickly. Being an EV, you know it's not going to be all that light, but rather good performance. It's definitely not a sports car. It's not designed to take corners fast. So to maximize this car, you really want to be comfy and smooth with your driving of it. It's not trying to be a sports car by any means. And aside from that, guys, the most important thing to talk about next is the price. Now, the starting point for these is just over 130,000 on road, and then there is also a more expensive variant as well. Now, when you consider that, this is a lot of money for a car and for an EV as well. So for me, battling BMW and Mercedes, it is a bit of a hard sell. I think though that what's going to bring people to this is the brand of Cadillac. I do find that it lives up to the Cadillac name in the sense of the comfort, the smoothness, and the overall road presence. I think the exterior looks, it does have this retro EV kind of style about it. I do find it very busy, definitely hard to clean and keep clean, but it does look rather nice. And so it does do what Cadillac needs. Alrighty, friends, I'd like to thank Cadillac for allowing me to have the Lyriq for a week. Overall, I think this is a package that will be welcomed in Australia. I think that its competitors probably do have a bit of an edge on it, that being BMW and Mercedes. I do think this has the ability to be up there with those big players though. I find that the really retro but modern feel of the dash, it's got this weird balance of nice retro elements with real modern elements that I like. I think they've done a great job. I think it screams Cadillac. Where I think it's let down in the interior is I think the steering wheel could be better. I don't like the plastic along the top. It's there to look expensive, but I think it just doesn't quite pull it off. The haptic buttons need to go. I really am not a fan on such a high priced car. The center console element, there are some cheap bits to it that I think again are trying to be expensive but just don't quite pull it off. But overall, it's not a bad place in here. I think the massage and heated and cooled seats are a great element to have, and I think they are definitely needed at this 130k drive away price bracket. I do like that there's lots of interior customization options in terms of colors, as well as the exterior. I think the infotainment is rather nicely done. It's very Mercedes-esque. Lots of compartments up here, lots of spaces for bags, which is very good. Overall, the driving was lovely and smooth, and I was really impressed with how comfortable I felt with the driving range of this car. At no point have I felt that I needed to charge it. I haven't worried about how long my range is and all those kinds of elements that usually come with a bit of an EV. I feel like this has got enough range for you just not to be too worried. And I do want to make mention, guys, that when you're speccing one of these, there is, from memory, a no-cost option for the home charger, and they did include it with this car. So I'll quickly show you that now. Just a nice element to have, especially when you're ordering an EV. I do know some EV brands don't offer that as a no-cost option, so well done Cadillac for that one. Boot space is lovely. I do think the overall size of the car, the way it's a little bit raised, I think this is a really good market segment for Cadillac to enter into. I just think it could have been done with just on a little bit of a better price bracket. That is all. But it's been a good drive. I hope you guys all go and try one if you're liking them, if you like the look and the style. I think you won't be surprised or anything by the drive of it. I think you'll be pleasantly happy. And so subscribe if you feel like it, and if not, see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.